You're listening to WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul.
Check, check, 1, 2. Look like a little country, some rock and roll and blues. 'Cause we sure love playing for good people like you. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, check, 1, 2.
Welcome to Music Local and Sustainable, the radio show that features discussions with and the music of local musicians. I am your host, Dave Lake. Tonight, we have on the show Erica Franklin and Wade Holmes, whose names you might not recognize until I link them to the band Wood and Steel, who you see performing around town and out on the islands quite regularly. Welcome, Erica Franklin and Wade Holmes.
Thank you, Dave.
What's the origin of the name Wood and Steel?
We took it from a publication made by Taylor that makes acoustic guitars. That's what acoustic guitars are made out of, wood and steel.
Except they have an ampersand and we don't.
Yeah, it's a little different.
That's it.
You actually spell out and.
We do, yes, sir. And originally, for the most part, I always played acoustic with the band, and he played electric. Now we swap it up since I've come over to the electric side.
Right.
And I noticed that you play a Taylor guitar.
I do, yes. We always have a debate between us because we tease each other. She plays Martin, I play
Healthy
Taylor.
debate, yeah.
My dad's a Taylor fanatic, though. He has about 10 of them. I couldn't get away with not having one.
It's always a good source of jokes. It's not too serious. Obviously, I'll let him get away with that name. Wood and Steel after a Taylor guitar magazine, but they're great guitars.
Actually, my father had purchased so many of them, and he lived in California about 60 miles from where the factory was. But he went there to purchase most of them, so they invited him to what's called their Friends and Family Sale, this is a much more expensive guitar than I can afford, but they had it for a Friends and Family thing at a discount, so it was a really good deal.
Oh, it's good to know people.
Yeah.
You describe your music as acoustic, folk, Americana, rock, soul, funk.
When we first moved to Savannah, we were just doing an acoustic duo, and for years that's all we did. We wanted to put together a band, but we both work full-time jobs during the week, and so we were kind of honestly just lazy at meeting people and finding other players to collaborate with, so we played just the acoustic duo for probably three and a half years. So that's where the acoustic rock and folk came from. And then the last year and a half, we put together the full band, which we also call Wood and Steel. We play more funk, more soul, more rock kind of stuff. So we just keep that whole category going. Our band plays a really wide range of covers and a little bit original. Anything from the Tedeschi Trucks Band to the Beatles to Nirvana. We play some Herbie Hancock with the band to even Fleetwood Mac. The Meters. I mean, it's kind of all over the place. So it's a pretty broad range of music, so hopefully pleasing to a lot of different crowds.
My initial idea was to have a different name for the band to make it less confusing, but we realized that we had already built like a little bit of a fan base around the Wood and Steel name, so it made more sense just to keep it and call it the Wood and Steel Duo or Wood and Steel Band.
Let's talk a little bit about your musical journey. How did you get to Savannah?
That's a very interesting story, actually. We had some mutual friends that I had known since 2002 that I met at a concert. I saw Widespread Panic when I was in college and met some people out on the road that are my lifetime friends just from going to concerts and meeting them there. And we had a mutual friend from Alabama that I had been friends with for several years, and we met in 2008, is that correct? In New Orleans at a Widespread Panic concert, and ended up befriending each other, and then we went to another concert together and became closer friends. And we were doing a long-distance relationship, and we realized we had to figure out something a little better.
He courted me for a couple of years from afar.
Right.
Before I gave in.
But we knew we wanted to be someplace like New Orleans, but we weren't sure that we wanted to live in New Orleans because her parents were a little concerned about the size of the city and the crime and the things like that. And we came to Savannah, and it was really similar, but a small-town feel. And we knew we could play music here without it being a lot of competition like you'd have in New Orleans. So we came here and visited, and we liked it, and she applied for a job and actually got it.
It happened very quickly.
It made a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved from California and she moved from Alabama, and we ended up here in 2011.
4.5 years later, we're still here and loving it.
Just to add, Widespread Panic played here last fall, and they played a song that I heard her play when I first met her, and I admired her, and I'd listen to it and be like, wow, I really like that girl, and I'd like to get to know her better. And then they came here in the fall and covered that song. It was a Bob Dylan song. They've only played it like once or twice, which was a really cool experience because it was here in Savannah, and our friends were there, and it's just a really neat story. And she plays it still.
Yes, I do.
So how about that Bob Dylan song you referred to?
Okay, we can do that. And it's called A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. And I will dedicate this to my mom Donna. She loves when I play this song, and she always requests it. started singing. It's so hard. 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 Rain's gonna fall. It's so hard. 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 Rains are gonna fall.
The backstory of our, well, we're obviously musical partners, but we're also in a relationship almost 6 years now. But music is the background that brought us together too, and obviously our musical journey before that. Both of our families are musically inclined. All of my aunts and uncles are musicians. They had a family band growing up. My mom's father, my grandfather, was a preacher, and so they grew up in church singing. So it's just sort of natural that we both ended up being musicians as well.
And my dad has played guitar since he was in the Army, since the 70s. And he's left-handed, but he never could afford a left-handed guitar, so he had to learn how to play right-handed. So it kind of
Wow, I never realized
limited
that.
his abilities. And he got me playing when I was really young, and I just got lucky enough that I wasn't too young to not really want to do it. I just kept at it, and I've been playing for over 20 years now, I think. And she had been playing acoustic for I don't know how long before that. You were
A couple of years I played solo acoustic shows all over the tri-state area down there.
She kind of
South
made a
Alabama.
name for herself for acoustic and weddings, and that Troy, Alabama area was
Did a
all
lot
over
of
the
weddings.
place.
Now, by the tri-state area, you mean Alabama, Florida,
Florida,
and Georgia?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
And Wade, you referred to the town in where you were in college, and that is?
Evansville, Indiana. I would say I owe almost all my musical learning to being in college in that town. Always meeting people that were better than me, and I was lucky enough to get to play with them and learn and get better in it. It happened really quickly. Like, I feel like I went from being really amateur to a much better understanding of guitar in like 2 or 3 years just from playing with better people.
I feel the same way about moving here, since I've wanted to play with the full band, picking up electric, being around guys like him and our other bandmates have definitely improved my guitar playing and vocal ability. So it's good to put yourself around really good musicians and subject yourself to a group like that. So it's been good for us here too. I think we've diversified a bit.
Erica, you grew up in South Alabama.
Yes, sir.
It was in college you picked up the guitar and started
Yes, sir.
singing more professionally?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. When I was in college, I bartended. It worked at a little sports bar. There was a group that played there very frequently, and I got to know them very well, and they found out that I was a singer. So they began to encourage me to come sing with them sometimes when it was slow. That's where I kind of built up my nerve, singing in the back room in a sports bar. And from there, just started having interest in playing music and started doing that eventually.
You played as a duo before you came to Savannah.
Periodically
we did. We were doing the long distance thing, so we did that when we could, but we really couldn't do that as frequently as we wanted to because of the distance. But once we moved here, we immediately started pushing to get gigs and going out and meeting people, and we've been pretty successful with it since we've been here. It's a very friendly musician community here. Supportive, very supportive.
In what ways?
Coming to each other's shows, I guess, promoting each other, hanging out. We've made some really close friends with a lot of musicians here that we hang out, we get together, we cook dinner, we go out to dinner and things like that. So it's just befriending each other and understanding the struggles and things like that.
I would say the single person that we owe the most to is a gentleman you may have known. He passed away last year, Derek Murphy. He used to bartend at the Livewire, and when we came here to visit, we went into Bayou Cafe, and we were watching a band playing there, and I said, I'm going to talk to the drummer and see where to go to meet musicians around here, and he told us to go down to Livewire. So we went in there, and the first person that we really met here was Derek Murphy, and he said, yeah, hang out here and you'll meet everybody. I'll introduce you, and he totally befriended us. And if you talk to I'd say 50% of the people who play music here, they have the same story about Derek Murphy. He introduced a lot of people. Really, really kind soul.
Mm-hmm.
The two major configurations you work in is the band and the duo. Well, the duo is obvious.
Yes, sir.
Who else is in the band?
We have what we like to call a family band, or so our drummer has dubbed it, because our drummer is Ben Lewis. He played with a band called the Domino Effect, and he was actually one of the first people we met here too. We met him at Livewire as well, and we were good friends for a while, and we would see him out playing, and he would say, hey, if y'all want to start a band, I'd love to play drums with y'all. And it took several years, but we finally did. Yeah, he was. They were touring a bit. So we were friends with him, and then finally put something together a year and a half ago. And then our bass player's name is Justin Tusky. He's not just a bass player. He's a chef. He builds guitars. He builds motorcycles. You name it, he can do it. He's good at everything. And we've all just become really, really close friends. That's been a lot of fun, because we did that. Our traditional thing for practice is I usually cook. Every time we practice, we try to practice once a week. I cook dinner, we hang out, we eat, and then we go play music. So it's really great. We may or may not drink some wine here and there too, and then we play music after we've already been eating and hanging out for a couple hours. But it's always a lot of fun. We usually have a pretty productive practice though.
When you perform out, I presume that whether it's the band or the duo depends upon the location, depends upon what the location wants. I've noticed you at, say, North Beach Grill, you play both with the band and as the duo.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. We just started playing there. Because we've been doing the duo for so long, it's easier, because the word has gotten out, I guess. We're trying to push the band a little more, because we'd like to play more with the band. But most of the gigs that people bring to our attention, they just want the duo.
Right, and some places have accommodations for acoustic, like they may do acoustic stuff on weeknights or acoustic stuff on Sundays, and that's kind of what we do at North Beach. We usually play acoustic gigs there on Sundays, and then they want more of a full band sound for Friday and Saturday, I presume. The place we played the most with a full band is Barrel House South, just because they have so much live music, and they usually will have 2 bands a night, even on a Thursday sometimes. So we've played some acoustic stuff there with early shows and some happy hour shows. I've played there solo, but it just depends on what they want. But we love the duo, but we've had a lot of fun with the full band recently, because it's really started to click after a year and a half, and we've started writing original stuff and kind of experimenting, and that really gets to be a lot of fun once you've been with the same group for so long and started to really kind of groove with each other and jive, and your personalities work out really well, and you're really, really close friends. So that's been a lot of fun. We've been trying to promote the band a little bit more.
It's a little harder, though, we found, because we're not full-time musicians, so we don't have the whole day to go and hang out somewhere and try to meet people and promote our band in the bar.
And we're lazy, and we like to go home and eat food on the weeknights and go to sleep, because we're always like, we're going to go to this open mic, because there's open mics here every weeknight. So many opportunities, but we work, and then we'll go eat food, and we'll try to go to that open mic tonight, and then we sit on the couch and start passing out. We just need to push ourselves a little more, meet some more people that work in the bars and bartend and book music. You need to go out and let them see your face and be a patron too, and befriend them. And
that's what we like about Savannah. It still has a small town feel. Like, you really need to know somebody to get your foot in the door a little bit to get yourself out there.
Why don't we hear a song? How about an original?
Okay.
Picking up the pieces, collecting every clue. Another part of the puzzle, picture coming through. This could be my masterpiece, a work of art, no doubt. A few minor adjustments, pieces start last minute nurture touches. Stand back and look at this. This could be my masterpiece. A work of art, no doubt. Calculated carefully. This is what it's all about. I'm building my case for stealing your heart. I found a perfect place. This has some potential of being something else, something new, something different, something more I've never felt. This could be my masterpiece, a work of art, no doubt. Calculated carefully. This is what it's all about. I'm building my case for stealing your heart. I found a perfect place. I'm building my case for stealing your heart now. I found a perfect place. I've picked up all the pieces, collected every clue, pieced together every part of the puzzle, and it led me straight to you. I'm building my case for stealing your heart. I found a perfect place. I'm building my case for stealing your heart now. I found a perfect place. I'm building my case for stealing your heart now. I found a perfect place.
And what do you call that?
It's called Building My Case.
What was the origin of that song?
It's actually probably about 7 or 8 years old. And it was just an idea around the lyrics of that song about building a case. I heard the line, and I thought about it in the terms of a lawyer building a case for stealing a woman's heart, and I just built the whole song around that.
I think it's about a previous love interest. He just doesn't want to say it in front of me. I'm just kidding. He wrote that song before we actually met, and it's become one of my favorite songs. It's such a beautiful song, and we obviously worked out the harmony part later on, but it's been one of my favorite songs for a while.
Wait, are you basically the songwriter then of the team?
Mostly, yeah.
Mostly, yes. I'll scribble some things down sometimes in a notebook, but I'll never tell him what it says. He usually, though, with the full band, comes up with some cool riff, and then he'll start writing around that. And sometimes we'll add lyrics, but usually he's predominantly the main songwriter, for sure. So he's so good at it, as you can see.
I've been doing it for a long time, though. What I've realized, and I don't when I write songs, there's always definitely some ones that you want to throw in the trash after you're done. But I've been doing it since, I would say, 2002. I was writing so many songs that there's a lot that you want to throw away, especially when you first start.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, I was in college and I was not in a happy situation as far as roommate, so I would lock myself in my room and just play guitar, and that's where a lot of those songs came from. But it gave me a lot of good practice. And I would say there's one or two from that time that I would still play. I don't play them anymore, but I'd say they're worth keeping.
Yeah, I'd say as a songwriter or a wannabe songwriter, you throw a lot of things in the trash, or at least from my own personal experience, I know that I have thrown a lot of things in the trash and hope that nobody would ever see it.
I got to the point where it took me a good 3 or 4 years before I was like, okay, I feel like that's a good song. You have to go through a lot of trial and error.
Sure, and bits and pieces. Sometimes, now if I ever write anything down, I make myself keep it, because later it may be an idea that you come back to and you add, and maybe you won't keep a whole verse or a whole chorus, but you might keep a really cool line and build a totally different song from that. So I've convinced myself to hide them, but not throw them away. One day it'll be a really good song, maybe.
Are there any particular artists that you find particularly inspirational, either in terms of songwriting or in terms of performance?
Most definitely on both sides of that. I would say, and she may disagree with me, but Ray LaMontagne is probably our single favorite songwriter.
You know that I wouldn't disagree with that. Certainly he is, in my opinion, and I guess both of ours, he's probably one of the best songwriters alive right now, and probably will be, I think, as Bob Dylan one day, as far as his songwriting skills go.
His thing is he's just so contemporary that not many people, I think, really know him to the level that he should be known.
Sure. When it comes to the full band stuff, we really love the sound of the Tedeschi Trucks band. Performance-wise, we're not really movers and shakers. We don't do a lot of dancing on stage, but it's something I'm interested in, and I do like to watch people who are good performers. Chris Robinson from the Black Crowes, I always like watching him dance on stage because he really just lets go and kind of whirls about and doesn't care. Stevie Nicks is always a great performer. She's really enchanting on stage. Could probably continue the list, but I'll stop there. Can you think anybody else performance-wise?
Well, I was going to say we see probably about 10 to 15 concerts.
We see a lot of shows.
Major concerts each year, so you go and you see a concert and you watch what they're doing and you take little things from everybody you see and try to incorporate it into your own thing.
Yeah, that's something we've become a lot more cognizant of in the last year and a half with the full band, because I'm not saying either one of us are uptight, but we're certainly not very boisterous on stage, and being the front people in a band, I've tried to really pay a lot more attention to make our shows more interesting to people other than just the music quality, what they see as well.
But you can see both sides of the spectrum, because we've seen Tedeschi Trucks band quite a few times, and somebody like Derek Trucks everybody respects him. He's one of the greatest guitar players in the world, but he doesn't do anything special on stage. He just blows your mind with what he's playing.
Yeah.
But we went and saw Fleetwood Mac last year, and Lindsey Buckingham's running back and forth down both sides of the stage. Also a well-respected guitar player, but two totally different
styles of
stage
entertaining
personalities.
And Stevie Nicks, I could never do what she does. All the twirls. And that's a really cool thing to watch, because people are mesmerized by her when she's on stage, but I think, well, I can't do that, but it's really cool. I can never twirl that many times and not fall down.
Now, when you write, do you write things specifically for the duo versus writing something specifically for the band?
I've been trying to write more band-oriented stuff, but like I drove down to visit my mom, and I was driving 7 hours in the car. And I just got this idea in my head, and I started singing it, and by the time I got there, I had like a chorus and a verse, but it felt more like a country song, so I knew it would fit better with the duo. But you just never know. It's just whatever kind of inspiration hits you, and then how that turns out as you kind of chase it a little bit. So it's a challenge, but I would say most of my songwriting starts with an acoustic guitar.